There's two dimensions to our failure in contemporary education. One, the expanding role of the government and the bureaucracies that are involved, the fact that education has been taken away from the home and the community and has been brought all the way to Washington, D.C. That needs to be changed, and all of the decision-making and the pocket strings and all of that need to be brought back closer to the parents, like I am right now with a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old, so that we can make decisions closely that affect the future progress of our children. That's one dimension. Charter schools, any opportunity for competition, for free markets, vouchers, any of the formula that we know will improve healthcare, that would improve any industry, would also improve our education if we apply free market principles. That's number one. The other piece, very quickly, is that we have to be honest about the failure of the family. In 1960, 5% of children were born out of wedlock. Today it is 43% of children. Think about that. When we think about how we, today as a society, park our children at a school expecting to be disciplined, instructed, and educated, and then we wash our hands of it, we've washed our hands of the future generation that will either end up unemployed or incarcerated, and it's not acceptable.
The breakdown of the family is a key, critical problem on a variety of fronts, and not just education. But I can tell you, if you look at it and you think about it, take healthcare, education, and energy. Those are the three biggest problem areas, I'd say, that this country faces today. You know what they all have in common? You got more government intervention in those areas than any other. As far as I'm concerned, we can get rid of the education department at the federal level, block granting money to the states, allow the states to set up, like we're trying to do in the legislature in the short session of this year, set up meritorious incentive programs to reward teachers who are providing excellence in the classroom. You know, you can throw money at anything. It doesn't mean you're going to improve it. Money is just a part of it. And so if we really want to get education back on track, let's get the federal government out of it, give the money back to the states, let them be creative and use it so that we can allow our children to become the very best that they can be.
Thank you. Mr. Carter, if you'd like to have any additional comments?
Well, I think that, you know, we're kind of all on the same page with this, and I think getting rid of the Department of Education would be a great step. And but I think that Mario's got children in school. I had children in school, and I was very concerned about their education. And I know that everybody that is in school or has children in school now, and this is where you can make it work and you can solve the problems, and that's where it should be done and can be done. And I don't think the federal government has their heart in the right place. And so when you start having something that's gone astray, then you've got to solve it. And I think the more I think about it, it's got to be the states that are standing up to the federal government and just you know, kind of ignore them, because they're not helping the situation. We can do it better locally.
Thank you. As we're kind of winding down, we've got a few more questions, but I think we would be remiss if we did not touch on everyone's favorite topic, which is taxes. Mr. McKenna, this question will go to you first, then to Mr. Rouser, then to Mr. Crow, and then back to Mr. McKenna. The fair tax has become a popular policy for conservatives to support. Unfortunately, the political reality is that the passage of the fair tax is likely still a long way from being politically viable. With that in mind, if you were elected, what tax policies, other than the fair tax, would you support to create jobs and economic growth?
Well, I think I've been pretty clear about that. I'm proud to say that I have offered my support going all the way back to 2010 for what has been called the Paul Ryan budget, but is now called the Republican budget because it passed the U.S. Congress this session and the last session. It's called the Path to Prosperity. And that's a system, it's a tax system, it is a debt reduction and a deficit reduction system, and even more importantly here in 2012, and it's going to take effect in 2013, it's a way of reinstating the defense cuts that this president allowed to occur, both by the failure of the debt commission and sequestration, and also by Obama's choice to cut $500 billion out of defense. So this is a program. Let me also say, for the record, I support the fair tax. I had $1 million of Democrat attack ads run against me for that. And if you don't know what that is, very quickly, it's the elimination of the IRS, and ultimately the onus for tax collection would happen only at the point of transactional sale. There wouldn't be income tax or things like that. And the idea is that it would bring in all this black market money that right now evades the system. Instead, because we have professional career politicians, lobbyists, and loopholes, some of our biggest corporations pay precisely zero because they have hired guns in Washington to go get them this exemption or that. Do you know where almost half of the exemptions to Obamacare, do you know what congressional district they've come from? Pelosi's. Nancy Pelosi in San Francisco. She was the champion of this, remember? She was the one who said, "We'll pass the bill so you know what's in it." She's responsible for more exemptions than any other member. This is corruption by any other name. If this were Brazil or Argentina, we'd be laughing and calling it a banana republic. Instead, it's America. Okay? So let's be clear. We have created a system that is so labyrinth, so Byzantine, so, you heard David talk about 3 million pages in our tax code. We need to simplify it. The path to prosperity, the Republican budget, takes an effort. It doesn't go far enough for my taste, but it's something that's ready to begin in the next session. All the Republicans in Congress approved it. We just need a Senate that will get off of its tail.
Thank you. Mr. Rouse.
I have always supported a flat tax. I just think it makes sense. People say, well, Rouser, what's your rate? I say 10%. Why should the government require more than the board does? Makes sense to me. And you know, if you have everybody paying, and you're at a 10% rate for everybody, guess what? The economy's going to grow, and you have more revenue coming into the treasury probably than you do now. Which means we can do infrastructure. Our roads and bridges across this country are failing. We've got real infrastructure needs in this country. It means that we could tap into the energy resources that we have, that we could get more money, for teachers, at the state level. It would be incredible what a revamp of the tax code would do. Simple, flat, and fair. How can you beat that?
Mr. Pratt, your thoughts on this?
Well, I had a teacher in high school, and he said the power of the tax is the power to destroy. I have never forgotten that. I have went to y'all's website today and looked at some of your ideas on taxes, and you feel that, if I understand you correctly, that it needs to be at the point of using things, that the taxes should be made. It's interesting.